6 asks us to complete the triangle of everything that's unknown. And I don't want you guys to forget that there is the triangle angle sum theorem. So I know that 90 plus 62 plus angle A equals 180. So that would be an easy way to figure it out. I also know that once I figure out two sides of a triangle, I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. But that's really not what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to practice trig. So I would ask you to pretend like you don't know the Pythagorean theorem, and I would ask you to pretend like you don't know triangle angle sum theorem, and just use the trig and practice that to find the missing part. So if I go with triangle 1, and by the way, I guess I should go through the whole process again. So we start by recognizing opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. We do that because we know that if we have two of the three, we're going to use either sine, cosine, or tangent. And once we have those ratios, we can either use the table or the calculator to, if we have the ratio, we can get the angle, or if we have the angle, we can get the ratio, to help us find either a missing side or a missing angle. And if we get something like this, we'll start from angle B. So from angle B's perspective, this would be the opposite, this would be the hypotenuse, and this would be the adjacent. Now obviously, I don't know the hypotenuse or the adjacent, so it doesn't really matter which one I start with. So let's pretend I want to know the hypotenuse first. Again, I have SOHCAHTOA. I keep forgetting to put this up here to begin the video. But let's say I want opposite over hypotenuse, then I would use the sine. So I would say the sine of 62 degrees is going to be equal to opposite of 22.6 over the hypotenuse. Well, let's say instead I was trying to solve for the adjacent. Well, then I would use the opposite and adjacent. I would use the tangent. So I could say the tangent of 62 degrees is equal to the opposite, which is 22.6, over the adjacent. So this is just two ways. And again, there's so many different ways I can do this. I could solve for the hypotenuse first, then I could use the Pythagorean theorem to find the adjacent. Or I could solve for the adjacent first and use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for the hypotenuse. I already know what this angle is just because of the triangle angle sum theorem, but I'm going to pretend like I don't. So anyway, as I go through this, again, I'll do this one with the calculator, this side with the calculator, and this side with the table. Again, I want to point out that I'm in degree mode. This is very important. I'm not in radian mode. That can really mess you up. So I want to know what the sine of 62 degrees is. The sine of 62 degrees is 0.8829. So 0.8829 over 1 is equal to 22.6 over h. We'll just call it 8 for hypotenuse. I'll cross multiply. 0.8829h equals 22.6. I can divide by 0.8829. I will get h is equal to whatever 22.6 divided by 0.8829 is. And I'm going to get 25.6 about. So h is about 20, I've already forgotten it, 25.6. So this is about 25.6. In the meantime, I can go over here, and again, I just want to point this out to everybody. You can already do 22.6 squared plus a squared is equal to 25.6 squared. Now that you know two sides of this, you can use the Pythagorean theorem, but I'm going to ask you not to. So again, I think I said I was going to use the table on this one. So the tangent of 62. So the tangent of 62 is 1.8807. So 1.8807 over 1 is equal to 22.6 over, we'll just say a for adjacent. We'll cross multiply. I'm going to get 1.8807a is equal to 22.6. I will divide by 1.8807. and I'm going to get A is equal to 22.6 divided by 1.8807. So I will get 12.02 about is what our adjacent is going to be. Again, if we want to confirm this, well, then what we should do is we should say, I don't know what just happened there, but I don't like that. Where am I at? Okay, so if we want to confirm this, we should be able to say the side squared. Why does it keep doing this to me? 12.02. I don't like this at all. Okay, so where do I want to write this? 12.02 squared plus 22.6 squared should be equal to 25.6 squared. Again, it won't be exact, but it should be close. So let's go ahead and see. 12.02 squared plus 22.6 squared gives us 655.24. That should be pretty close to 25.6 squared. So hopefully we get something really close to 655. There you go. You can see how close that was. So we did confirm our side lengths using the Pythagorean theorem. Now let's go ahead and find this missing angle. And again, there's so many ways we can do this, guys. Now that we know all three sides, we could use sine, cosine, or tangent. It doesn't really matter. Right? Because we have all the side lengths now, but we're just going to pick two. So let's go ahead and pick adjacent and opposite for the fun of it. So what I'm going to do, make myself a little room here. I'm just going to go ahead and say, all right, well, from A's perspective, opposite and adjacent, oh wait, yeah, another longer opposite and adjacent, huh? From A's perspective, let me change this here. From A's perspective, this is now the opposite, and this is now the adjacent. This is still the hypotenuse. Again, we talked about that earlier in an earlier video, that perspective changes, right? If you're behind someone, you're looking at the back of their head. If you're in front of them, you're looking at the front of their head. So what's opposite and adjacent changes, but the hypotenuse never changes. But if I want this angle, now the opposite is 12.02 and the adjacent is 22.6, so we're going to use tangent. I will say the tangent of angle A is equal to 12.02 opposite divided by 22.6. And again, I can either use a calculator and say I want 12.02 divided by 22.6, and I'm going to get 0.53, so I want to know what the arctangent of that is, of 0.5319. I'll round that to 19. I'm going to get 28.00 degrees. Or, right, I already have that it was 0.5319, so let's go look at the table and see what tangent gives me for 0.5319, and you can see very close to 28 degrees, 0.5317 instead of 5319. But here's the other thing. What is 62 plus 28? Plus 90. Doesn't that equal 180 degrees? We should have already known this was 28, right? 62 plus 90 plus 2080 is 180, so we should have already known that. But that is the way that you can solve a triangle once you know everything.